everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm going to do a little craft with me video. I'm going to be making a 3D tote using a kscraft die, and this is going to be part of a outgoing swap that I'm working on. So stay tuned and we're going to get right into it. Okay, we're going to get started on the 3D tote. This is what I am making. For the swap, I am making a total of 3, so I thought I would do one on camera. The pattern paper that I'm using comes from the Parasol collection, and this is a Maggie Holmes collection that came out a couple years ago. So I had not ever used any of the paper here, and the stickers were still on the paper pad. So I decided I'm not going to be hoarding paper anymore. I need to be using what's in my stash. So that's what I'm doing. And this has a really cute bow paper. So I'm going to be using this bow paper for the sides, this bird paper, and then this will be my straps. The the cardstock on the base is going to be 110 pound cardstock. And here's the die set I'm using. It's the 3D kscraft tote, and it's got layering pieces, and there's an add-on for it. You can make it into a shaker. I am not doing a shaker for this one, but for this one I'm just making a simple tote. And then it does come with some words. This says shopping and this is stylish. So I already cut all the pieces out. There's layering pieces for everything. So here is the container with all my layering pieces. I'm loving this container. I ordered this from HSN. They're all full of stuff already. So let me grab all of the things that I'm going to need for this one tote. I cut out enough for all 3 of them, so I already put one together. This will be the 3rd one, and I will do that off camera. The base pieces are just cut out in this white, and I cut each one out twice. So each of the dies in the set you have to cut out twice. This is the base. This is the layering piece with the stitching detail that's going to go on top of there. Then this piece here will be the side panel of the tote, and then there's a layering piece for each one of those. This is going to be the bottom of my tote. I am putting a piece of layering piece. I'm going to glue that on the inside of the bottom of the tote. So that'll be like that. So I just cut one of those out. Then this is going to be the bottom of the tote right here. So I had to cut out a base piece and then the layering piece. So I cut 2 of those out. And then the side panels, which is the main part of the tote, I cut out 2 base pieces and 2 layering pieces. Okay, so that's all the elements. And I want my tote to be pretty sturdy. So that's why I used 110 pound cardstock on the base. And this one's a very easy one to use, that thicker cardstock, because the layering pieces are not going to be attached to any of the things that fold over, which adds a lot of bulk to it. So this is a perfect one if you want to use a thicker base cardstock. And I recommend it because, especially if you're sending a tote out, Happy Mail, this has to go out to 2 different people, and you want it to be sturdy. The beginning part here, I am going to glue all of my base pieces to the areas where they go. That's going to take a minute. So let me get my glue ready here. Gotta get a good flow going using my handy dandy straight pin and my pin cushion. If anybody wants one of these, I've got them in my Etsy shop. They come with a couple of straight pins. They're not decorated, so you can put whatever, you can put pattern paper or ribbon or any kind of trim. I've had the same one for a couple years. I just have not ever redone it, but I could easily take off my ribbon and make it a different color. This is my main tool. I use it every day, every single day. I know a lot of people put a straight pin in their glue. Mine discolors. I don't like that. I just do that and give it a wipe and stick that back in there. This always sits right on top, keeps my glue from drying out. It does get buildup of glue in there, but I just go in with my pokey tool every now and then when it is totally full and clean that glue out. It just rests right on top of there. And this is always sitting over on the side of my desk. Actually, it's sitting on my, I'll show you. I'm going to move my camera over here real quick. This is my camera stand right here. That's what I'm filming on. So this is just right to the right of me on my desk. My favorite tools, my little ladybug sweeper. I had to order a new one because I dropped it and broke it, but I ordered one immediately. This I made, and I use this every day, all day when I'm crafting. And here's my glue bottle. It just sits here. These things are here all the time, and I pull it over when I need it. So that is the sneak peek over here of my glue station. So I shared that, and I just move this down here so it's there and I can reach that straight pin if I need it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start applying glue. I don't know how I'm gonna do this part. I may fast forward these and put music on if you want to craft along with me. I know a lot of people like to put videos on in the background while they are crafting, so I'm hoping this will be one of those kind of videos. I really enjoy watching when people actually craft their entire project on their channel. So there's the first panel. Just make sure you got a little border of the white showing. And gonna make sure it's glued down very well. I do this with everything I glue on. Spreads the glue around and it gets it into the paper fibers so you have a nice solid piece of paper. Okay, there's one. So let me do the other one. I'm going to move my camera down just a little. So there is definitely a bad shadow right now. I'm going to try to turn my ring light on after I finish this one because the shadow is really hard to try to work through. I know. Okay, there we got our two panels. So they're just gonna be drying. I'm gonna set those aside. Now I got that circle in the middle, but I guess if I keep a piece of paper there, it won't show. That seems to help. Okay. Let me get a piece of paper to put under here. Is that better? Okay. I'm gonna do that because it's just really gloomy and I need that extra light, I think. This is gonna be the base piece. So I'm just gonna glue that on. Now, the right side of my tote, or the base, this is the right side of my paper. So I'm gonna turn that over just so it looks nice. If I look at the bottom of my tote, that's gonna be on bottom, but I'm going to glue the pattern paper to the inside of the bottom of this. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically I'm gluing this to the wrong side of my base, which will be what you look into if you're looking into the tote. I hope that makes sense. All right. There we go. Okay. Looks good. So I'm going to put that aside. So when I go to put this on, this is going to glue to the inside, and then this will be, you can see that in the tote. All right. Now next I'm going to glue these together. There we go. Then I got two of these. These are the side panels. And my paper is directional. So when I go to glue everything together, I'll have to pay attention. Right now it doesn't matter because it's the same top and bottom. But when I glue it all together, I will have to pay attention to that direction of the birds, because we don't want our birds upside down. I mean, it looks like they're in flight, but they do have to be right side up. Okay, there's those. Then the final thing are the handles, and these are the most tricky part just because you're dealing with a longer, flimsier piece of paper. I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to the back. This piece is a little flimsy, so it can be a little tricky. So just give yourself, be patient with it, and just add enough glue so it slides around easily while you're trying to work with it. I definitely wouldn't recommend double-sided sticky tape for this piece, unless you have a lot of wet glue on it. I'll step aside. I'm gonna try to do this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Slide it up just a little. Okay. There. And if you're really wanting to do a lot of extra detail, you could go to your sewing machine and stitch around these. But I'm not going to do that for this particular project because I really need to just get this done. There we go. Okay, we've got all of our components. Everything is drying. So I'm going to start putting some double-sided sticky tape on things. So these we won't need right away, and these, put these aside. So we need double-sided sticky tape on these and the bottom. And the rest of them I'm going to set aside for now. I'm going to get my scoreboard out. This is optional if you don't have a scoreboard, or if you want to use a score tool with a sharp edge, you can do that. You can use something like this and use a ruler and have it just up against there. Since I have a scoreboard, I am going to use it. Okay. And I'm going to line, so there's a little embossing line there that the die makes. And I'm going to just run my bone folder over that. And if it doesn't line up exactly on your scoreboard, you can move it over just so the line, you know, where you're going to score matches with where the indentation is from the die cut. So I'm just going to go over it 3 or 4 times because this is thicker cardstock and I want it to fold really good when I go to do that. So now I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on this side. Okay. All right, so I did the 2 outside edges. Then I'm going to also do these. And it looks pretty even here, so I'm just going to make sure it's straight. Hold down really good and just run your bone folder down there. Then I'm going to flip it over, do the same thing on the other side, just make sure that it matches up and it looks good. If you are using thinner cardstock, you might want to run it over just once or twice. There we go, that's ready. I'm going to do the same thing to these on here and here. And this one I have to move over because my line matches right up with that. So I need to move it over just a hair. There we go. And I'm making sure it's flat at the top here. And then I'm just holding it down. Okay, and I'm going to flip it over. Do the same thing on this side. I got to move it over. There's one. I'm going to repeat that on the second one. Got all of my pieces ready to go. Done with this for now. Just need to put some glue on here. I'm going to use my double-sided sticky tape. And I got 2 different sizes. You'll see on this piece here that the fold over flap is pretty small. And this one's a little bigger. So I'm going to use the 1/8 inch double-sided tape on these 2, and then I'll use the 1/8 inch on the top and the bottom of this one, but I'm going to use the 1/4 inch on the side flappy things on this one. So let me do the smaller ones first. All right, those 2 are ready. Then on this one, I'm just going to do the top and the bottom with this smaller tape. This is going to be, all the flaps will be glued inside So we're going to put the glue on, like I'm going to turn it over to the side that doesn't have the pattern paper on it, okay? Then I'm going to put the glue right here, or the tape right here. Okay, so then we got the glue there, like that. And I'm also going to do the same thing with the 1/4 inch tape. Get this in here. I also do this because I have cats and they like to just get into everything. Okay, so these, again, here's the bottom of the tote. Show you. So here's the tote. These flaps are gonna be bent up and they're gonna be glued like this, okay? They'll be glued like that, and then that'll all be inside the tote. So I'm gonna flip that over, and I'm gonna take my double-sided tape. You don't have to do it this way, but this is the easiest way for me to do it. My little hack here, just a little extra step when you're done, which won't be any big deal. And I'll show you that. Do the other side the same. And I just try to do it like right in the middle because I'm going to add wet glue anyway. And that'll help. So now, let me flatten that down, make sure that's stuck real good. And I'm going to leave this way until I am ready to put everything together. I'm going to start with the side panels. And this is where it's going to get interesting. So I'm going to go ahead and bend on my score lines now to get things started so it'll make more sense. So just bend these sides all up. And your tape should be on the back side of all 4 flaps, okay? The side that does not have the pattern paper on it. Okay, so just like that. There. That's the base of our tote. And it'll have a little bit of a bend to it when we're putting it together. You have to do just some minor pinching and holding while the glue sets a little bit. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing. This is going to be the outside of the side of the tote. So I'm going to bend these away from where the pattern paper is, okay? And on these, the double-sided tape is on the same side as the pattern paper. And then these are going to be glued to the front panel like that. But we're going to glue everything to the base first. All right, and you also have to pay attention to the direction of your paper if you have directional paper. So I'm going to repeat on the second side piece. Okay, so we got 2 side panels, and then this is the base. So I'm going to work with the base first. You can kind of flatten these out. I'm going to turn this over, and we're going to work with the 2 sides of the base. So you're going to turn it over to the wrong side, which has your double-sided sticky tape. Only remove one of the side at the time. We're just doing one side, and I'm going to add glue to that flap. Don't go over the score line. It's going to be like this, and my birds need to be like this, okay? So I'm going to lay it down on top here, not going over the score line. And just match it up. And I'm gonna, before I lift it up, push it down real good with my bone folder. You have a little bit of wiggle room. If you got it wrong, just making sure there's enough glue on there, then it folds up really nicely, okay? So that's going to be one side of the tote, like that. So I'm just going to repeat on this side. It's okay. That's why you don't use a piece of paper when you're crafting. All right. Hopefully that ring light is not too bad in there. I'm going to let those dry a little bit. And we're going to work on these sides now. This piece is going to need to be glued on here. And you can see there's a little bit of a curve. And I like to follow the curve when I'm gluing. I guess if you didn't, you could glue it on straight like that. You're just going to have a little bit of this showing on the edge. If it's difficult for you to like get that curve, it's okay to do that. But the idea is to follow the curve of here. My tip for this is to make sure you have everything matched up really good and start in the middle. Like making sure that is where you want it, making sure there's plenty of wet glue on there so you can move it around and then get it stuck down pretty good. Then we'll lift it up and we'll maneuver the edges, okay? So the first step for me though is you'll see I've got sticky tape all across there, and when I glue it on from the inside, things might stick to it. So I don't like that. I'm going to take my scissors and just trim down in between each of these. And then I'll show you what I do with the adhesive that's sticking out. This is how you put together something and it's going to be really good quality because you take your time and do all these things. Then I'm going to remove, just from the side I just cut, all the little pieces of double-sided tape. And there's going to be a lot of them since all these flaps have their own individual cut in them. Would it work the other way? Maybe, but I think more, if you cut it after you take this off, I think more glue will stick to your scissors. Okay. Okay, there we go. So you'll see there's a whole bunch of glue in between here. I'm just going to take my little needle here and I'm going to just push up on it and use the tip. That way it won't stick to as much. And just move it over to the flap like that. And just continue all the way down. There, so that's all fixed now. Just wipe that off my little needle. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my wet glue to all of these. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's going to spread out. Just make sure you have a good bit of wet glue on the sticky areas. So you're going to be able to slide it around. There, we got glue all on the top of all those. Okay, and again, this is going to be how it's glued together. So we've added the glue to the bottom of those. I'm going to lay this down. And I'm going to make sure the center is where I need it. Don't have it, make sure it's not over the fold lines. Okay, don't worry so much about the outer edges yet. Just focus on getting this part here stuck down really good. Just the middle section. That's probably long enough. Then I'm going to go over and pinch. If you can do both of them at the same time. If not, just do one side at a time. And just hold it for a couple of seconds, maybe minutes. But you'll have to go back to the middle. As you can see, it's slid a little bit, but that's okay. So I think we're good. And I'm just going to get my bone folder. And I think that one slid a little bit. So I'm going to push down on them a little, and then I'm going to turn it over again. Check it. Okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is the bottom anyway. Okay, that's looking pretty good. And I'm just gonna, before I move on to the other side, I am gonna make sure this is set pretty good because I don't want stuff sliding around. You really just have to be patient and enjoy the process of making your tote. This is my favorite part, actually. All right, I think that's pretty good. And there is one side panel. So it's gonna look like that. And we're gonna work on the other side now. So same with this one. I'm gonna go ahead and, now you're gonna have to be careful because if you lay this down flat now, you might mess up your edge over here. There we go. Looks good. Now, the next part will be to do the sides. I'm gonna let these dry for just a minute before I start playing with the other area because I don't want any of these side panels to move around. So I'm gonna give these a couple minutes to dry, then we'll get started on the sides. So I'm going to do these edge pieces one at a time. I would have put the side panels on or the straps on before I glued this on here, but I didn't. So I'm just going to wait and put them on after I get the tote all glued together. We're just going to remove one strip here and add some glue. Don't go over the fold line. This part's pretty easy. And I'm just gonna lift that up, glue it to the inside of the panel. Like that. I focus more on the top part, and then this usually will go in line where it's supposed to lay. Just hold that for a couple of seconds till it sets up. Then gently set it down. Gently push down on it. Don't do it and take a look at it. Make sure it's the way you want it. Looks good. And I'm just going to continue to do that for a couple minutes before I move on to the next. And this is very important that you not move on to the next panel until this is set, because things will just start moving around on you and that just gets frustrating. So take your time and wait for things to dry a little bit. I'm gonna go to this side now, the opposite side on the same panel, and I'm gonna glue that one on. And we have our panel on, our side panel. And because the seams are all the same color, they're a little forgiving if it's not perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna go the opposite side and just remove one side of the double-sided sticky tape. Just get in there with your glue. Got one more side to go. Do the last panel. Get in there, remove that double-sided sticky tape cover. There is the base. Looks really nice. And the inside, you see there's the little birdies down in there. And you could put a piece of pattern paper on the bottom if you want it to have a totally finished look, but I'm not gonna mess with that. Now, all we need to do is put these on. Let me get this tape out of here. I'm gonna put the straps on first, because they're going to be glued like here, and then this piece will go over the top of that. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap at the bottom though, so that this gets glued really good to the whole base. All right, so I'm just going to eyeball it where I glue it, and I can always go back in and add glue there. So maybe just... And I'm going to put a good bit of glue on here. My stomach's growling at me. Just eyeball it. That looks pretty good. Hold it at the top. Then you can go down like this. And then I'm going to glue this over the top like that. There we go. One side done. Repeat on the other side. Here's one more final look at the finished tote. There's the inside. There's the bottom. And it's super sturdy. So it's ready for me to fill up with all the goodies. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in my next video. Bye, everyone.